Hey there, geeks. Adam coming back at you with another edition of Comic Card Crazy. Last time around, I hope you enjoyed Mike and I looking at the world of the Ultraverse, but we want to look at another 90s comic book company that had a good run, even made several sets of trading cards. How about the Valiant era of trading cards? This is going to be very cool to get into these because Valiant, in the early days of Wizard, they were all over the place. In fact, this Valiant era pack of cards, they had an entire special devoted to Valiant called, telling you here, the beginning of the Valiant era. So this was a big push that was going on. But as far as Wizard goes, I've said this on our main podcast before, but my first issue ever of Wizard was this, which featured Exo Manowar on the cover. And at the time, I just thought, what a cool design. I wasn't picking up the comics, though, but a few years down the road, I was in the back issue bins and I found this trade, this Exo Manowar trade that collected the first several issues of that story, and I was hooked. And soon I was going through all the back issue bins. I'm trying to find all the Valiant I could. I mean, here we have Exo Manowar. This is a really cool wraparound, cover, just with the full works, right, of the 90s. In fact, this was by Joe Quesada, and there was a pin that was released later that my co-host Michael Canetti gave to me, which is very cool. But they also were always trying to catch you up. So here's the secrets of the Valiant universe. Like, here's our whole cast of characters, because they had brought along people like Solar, Man of the Atom, and Magnus, Robot Fighter, and Turok, like these old Gold Key characters, and resurrected them. But they had a whole universe of their own characters as well, like Harbinger, this team of like young teen, they weren't called mutants, but let's just say they were mutants, But then there were others that came along until they actually created their own kind of Avengers team called Secret Weapons, where they brought like Bloodshot together, if you've seen the Vin Diesel together, Eternal Warrior. Of course, Ninjak was another one I really loved. Joe Quesada started out that series, but was only on for a few issues. So Valiant is one of those universes that I really did dive into and could enjoy. And I think eventually they kind of updated their art style. Then that was an even bigger deal. If you want a little bit more detail on Valiant Comics, before we get into this pack of cards, we just interviewed Darren Sanchez on our interview series, The Wizard Files, and he was at Valiant during this era of the 90s when they were really booming. He was their production manager. He was involved in a lot of stuff. So if you want that behind the scenes of what was going on there, if this piques your interest, go check out that interview. But in the meantime, let's check out this pack of cards. Let's see what characters are hiding within. Okay, so here we are with our pack of the Valiant Era trading cards from 1993. It says here, a trading card history of the Valiant universe through 1992, which is kind of interesting that they approached it that way. There are 8 cards per pack. It's a 120 card set, plus special random insert cards featuring light FX technology. Ooh, should we be so lucky as to get one. Now, one thing I want to point out here is that you'll notice that there is this pyramid logo, okay? And it says the Upper Deck Company presents. So that was what was going on here, is Upper Deck was like the major sports card deal, right? But they were trying to branch out and get into the world of non-sports trading cards. So this is going to be like the highest production values of this moment in time for trading cards. So let's get into it here. I mean, first off, we already have a foil pack. So that is something that was, going to become more standard. But at the time, it was kind of like, wow, just feel that. Like, it just feels like metal. It's amazing. Let's see what cards we have here. Okay, so first off here, looks like Shadow Man, Jack Boniface, I never quite knew how to pronounce that name, Boniface. But yeah, so Shadow Man's pretty interesting. What's it talking about here? Crime Lord Emil Sosa has the ability to suck out the life energy of others, leaving only a burnt-out husk. And now he has his sights on the vigilante Shadow Man. Capturing the night-roving hero, Sosa locks him in his basement. He's released by a maid who's had enough of Sosa's perverse appetite for children. Yikes! But Shadow Man doesn't care why he's free, only that he can now eliminate this demon from the night, from his night. But do you see that little pyramid logo there? Just like Upper Deck, we got that little hologram logo. That meant so much back in the day, collecting cards. It got me to buy Upper Deck cards just because it had the tiniest little hologram on every card. So let's see here. Next up is Archer and Armstrong. These guys are kind of interesting. One of them is like an immortal, that big guy, and the other guy is like, he was raised in a monastery, but that's Barry Windsor Smith art, who was known for doing Conan and a bunch of other stuff back in the day. But let's see what they say about this group. Murdered by his sadistic parents, Obadiah Archer returns from the dead with uncanny physical abilities and a mission to punish all evildoers, like his parents. Learning martial arts in the Orient, Archer becomes the world's greatest fighter. He soon encounters Armstrong, a free-spirited immortal with the strength of 10 men. They have just met when they are attacked by Armstrong's foes, the Sect. Can they survive their crazy friendship? Yeah, so Armstrong was definitely more along the lines of kind of a worldly guy, and then Archer was like, oh yes, but we must figure this out. Now here we go. That's a dynamic image right there, with a Magnus robot fighter and his tunic. Don't call it a skirt, it's a tunic. And his go-go boots. Maybe you can call them go-go boots. Let's see what they're going to tell us about Magnus here. Bent on the destruction of Magnus, Talpa wreaks havoc upon North Am, but the robot fighter is in no shape to face Talpa, having just returned from the Unity conflict. For those who don't know, Unity was this huge crossover between all the Valiant books. In response to Talpa's demands that Magnus be turned over to Amnesia, tells the robot to return to San Gabriel. Now recuperated, Magnus fights Talpa, alternately exposing the robot to extreme heat and cold, making it brittle enough to smash. And that is what he does best. He's going to smash those robots. All right, here's more Archer and Armstrong here. I'm still waiting for some Magnus, not Magnus, Exo Manowar. But here's a nice little fight scene here. These look like these could be original art pieces, just like, I don't know, maybe it's pulled directly from the comics, but I don't know, maybe it's cover art now that I think about it. Let's see. So yeah, continuing their romp across Europe. So this is just telling you they're getting into another battle, but look at Archer kicking that guy in the nuts. Classic 90s move. Maybe just an all-time classic fighting move. Ooh, now here's Shadow Man. Now this is the version of Shadow Man I really liked, because originally he had like a ponytail and he just had like this, spandex suit on, but eventually he just lets his hair flow and he has a leather jacket. He's much more rock and roll, and I loved that incarnation of Shadow Man. What are they going to tell us about him here? Escaping Master Dark's burning mansion, Shadow Man heads for home in his new costume. See, there we go. He goes to gather information on his adversary, Master Dark, investigating Dark's tomb. He receives a warning from Dark's sister to remember the day of his death. Soon after, Jack falls prey to Dark's blood runner spell. He begins running and screaming, his life bleeding out of every pore. Pretty sure I have that issue. All right, yes, so this is what I was waiting for. A little bit of Exo Manowar, but also Harbinger. Yeah, you have the kids who are the renegades who are making their way out in the world on their own, being chased by Toyo Harada, but here they are meeting up with Exo Manowar. Let's see. Agreeing to meet with Toyo Harada, Eric and Ken travel to New Orleans. Learning of this rendezvous, the Harbinger kids also go to New Orleans, hoping to kill their nemesis, Harada. As Eric and Harada toast their mutual respect, the Harbingers suddenly attack. Donning his armor, the drunken Eric is too much for the kids to handle, and they swiftly retreat. Harada thanks Eric, even as he plans to use the barbarian as his pawn. Yes, always scheming, Harada. Oh, a lot of Archer and Armstrong here. A lot of people loved this series. I never really read it, but a lot of people had a real fun time reading that book. They liked the camaraderie, I guess. But yeah, this is interesting. I don't know why there are dinosaurs here, because it doesn't say that they're in Turok's, world where there are dinosaurs. So it just says, oh, it's a pet dinosaur named Flo. Okay. But this card, now this is a way to finish off a pack. We didn't get one of those special cards, but I love Exo Manowar, especially this Barry Windsor Smith art is looking cool. For those who don't know, it's just the coolest concept. Let's see if they give us a breakdown of what it's all about here. Impatient with the complexities of the modern world, Eric wants little to do with running Orb Industries. Ken, on the other hand, loves his new wealth and power, plots to kill Eric, taking the armor for himself. But Ken lacks the nerve and is terrific terrified. Terrific. When Eric realizes his treachery, Eric leaves, sparing Ken, only to have both Ken and the armor snatched by Axe. But Axe is about to learn just how harshly Eric deals with bandits. But yeah, so he's like this barbarian from ancient times who is captured by aliens for years and years, and then he finally steals this symbiotic armor and heads to Earth. He becomes the head of a corporation after he kills all the aliens that are running the corporation. Like, just so many complexities. I wish this was a movie or at least a series. It would be fantastic. So there we go. Those are our cards. So the production quality on these cards, as high as I expected. Upper Deck did a good job there. I like that the cards also really did just give basic, breakdowns of stories and catch you up with the universe, like they were saying was the whole purpose. So that worked out. Now, as far as my favorite cards, I mean, like I said, I do love the look of Shadow Man, and that one is very intense. But my Exo Manowar bias is going to win out. Of course, it's got to be this Barry Windsor Smith piece of him getting the armor on. Now, what this card brought up for me, though, is, like I say, I have almost a full run of the original Exo Manowar series. And later on, there was this cover by Jim Calafiore, which was like an homage to that piece. As you can see, this is not Eric. This is Randy, who is his head of security. And at a certain point, she gets to wear the armor for a time. So it's a real interesting way. The armor actually evolves, it changes. So just one of the cooler series and concepts in comics, if you want my opinion. A lot of people just said, oh, it's a ripoff of Iron Man. But then he teamed up with Iron Man, and you saw how different they actually are. Anyway, thank you so much for checking out this video. Look forward to more to come. Do you want a preview? Should I share it with you? Okay, let me tell you what is coming up next time. We're getting into summer. It's swimsuit season. And, sometimes you got to check out those bad girls. They're ready for summer weather. That's right. We're going to open up a pack of Vampirella cards. Okay, so let's find out what's going on in here next time around. If that doesn't get you to subscribe and be ready for what's to come, I don't know what will. But either way, thank you so much. Be sure to also just go on to wizardscomics.com. Check out over 270 episodes of our main podcast. Follow us on social media so you can find out all the other fun stuff that we're bringing your way, plus scans from Wizard Magazine in the 90s if you want that nostalgia hit. We're at Wizards Comics on all the socials. But until next time, keep your books bagged and boarded.